Hello and welcome to Mostly Off Topic. That's us. Plays Loftar Dragons, the One Ring second edition actually released rules. Wow, how about that, guys? It's crazy. I'm joined by Ben.
Hello.
Joe.
Hello.
Matt.
Hi there.
I have to say, Matt, it looks like you're wearing quite an interesting hat.
Yeah, it's got a pineapple on my head today.
That's right. You've got a fiery pineapple on your head.
Yes, a Swedish type of pineapple has.
Okay, fair dues. Pineapple is a symbol of prosperity, for what it's worth.
Oh.
So it's in.
Yeah, if it comes in syrup, whoa.
Okay.
Oh, pineapple upside down cake. I haven't had that in years.
I don't think anybody has. I think that's the point. Anyway, episode 34, which is the first episode using the proper second edition rules. I wouldn't want to say that we're using the proper second edition rules because, as I think we say at the start of every episode, we're using the rules that we think are right and that apply and our interpretation thereof.
A week to get our heads around them.
Yeah, that's right. I did try and read them, and I got most of the way through. So spoilers for Loftar Dragons. So we are playing Loftar Dragons. So if you've made it to episode 34, then you're probably committed to the fact that you're getting spoilers. But I'm going to keep saying it. The stream's going to get interrupted when people come in, little mini hobbits, and we're just playing the game how we want to play the game, which may be a good way to play the game. I wouldn't want to say. It's how we play. Look at everybody.
Which again, if you've watched 34 episodes of How We Play,
you kind of know.
Kind of got an idea that
there's not going to be any surprises anymore. We're not suddenly changing our style.
Well, someone might have watched all the episodes and never paid attention to that bit.
Possibly.
To be fair, that's a way I'd recommend them to watch it.
Yeah. And also, thank you everybody for the views, for the comments, for generally being awesome. Continue doing those things that you do, apart from the bad things. What was that?
Thumbs down. We ever get any thumbs down?
No. I don't. Maybe we've had like 2 or 3 in our history.
Also good for the algorithm.
You got to have the thumbs down. Otherwise, how do you know how good a thumbs up feels?
Yeah.
Also, but if you are going to thumbs us down, make sure you thumbs us down twice so it really sticks.
It could be just like Justin Bieber fans.
Okay, so what happened last time?
Stuff
got really dark, didn't it?
There was a fight. There was infighting, in fact, the worst kind of fighting.
Yeah.
Well,
fighting with our kinfolk.
Yeah.
I didn't touch any of them. I just sung a song and shouted at someone and pointed out that they were doing the wrong.
So in the House of Brech, on the edge of the wastes, you guys were finding out that things weren't quite how they perhaps should have been. Kuldrim, your theory of dragon sickness, he was eyeing all the kind of gifts that you got, in particular the
promotion for Torg, who's very envious of that.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the thing he wanted the most.
You being offered if you were successful a place on Dane's council, and in the end,
there can be only one.
Shreve kind of like attacked him as you were kind of like saying that he needed to be taken to answer for his dragon sickness by and large. Yeah, so shall we start session 17, episode 34? Session 18 actually. So our scene is totally black, and we just hear the sound of ancient metal scraping over stone. The mutilated corpse of a dwarf fades into view, stab wounds about his head, his neck, his chest. Then falling slowly into the frame face contorted by fury, a middle-aged human servant, face careworn by years of service. The hilt of a dagger is embedded in their chest, and they fall, and the crimson stain from the dagger spreads where the blade has been buried deep. One blade, two corpses. We see them fall together, their blood intermingling and spilling onto the stone floor. We watch as Loftar reaches across his friend and secures for himself the object of his own desire, paying little heed to the dead. The scraping sound is Loftar recovering for himself that which is precious to him. Faces flash into our vision. Torg, surprise, revulsion at what is happening before him. Spots of blood marring his face. The dwarves of Kuldrim's band moving. Delight, revulsion, horror, confusion. Cirque, caught between watching the dwarves beside him to seeing this carnival play out in front of him. Inscrutable Cirque. Is that a smile playing at the corner of his mouth? As if this turn of events didn't surprise him, and it's just one more puzzle working its way to resolution. The scene is now fully realised, and it moves at its normal speed. A scream, cries, movement of bodies, and the shame writ clearly on the face of the one most to blame for this. Scarf of the House of Brech. His face is that of a man who knows he is the real architect of all that has befallen here. And the question he asks himself is whether he has the strength of will to honour the dead by taking responsibility. Ahmad's kin race past. He stands, brushes himself down, takes a pace towards the kitchens, resolution clearly on his mind. What are you all doing?
Just scanning the area, seeing what the immediate reaction is, I guess.
Loftar, you're going to be scanning your precious object. Make sure.
No, that's already secured. I'm just standing up and just checking out the scene. What's occurred in
chaos, basically. Kuldrim stabbed viciously many times. His head, his neck, his body, his blood spraying everywhere, his collapsed, slumped, fallen. Ahmad stabs himself in the chest, falling forward. The dwarves of Kuldrim's band just don't know what the hell's going on. They're reeling. There's a scream from one of the waiting staff as she races forward, and you see Scarf take it all in and kind of stands and starts to move towards the kitchens.
Okay, so are all of the Brotherhood or the other dwarves? Do they seem to be kind of gravitating towards a certain group, or like moving in a specific direction, or are they just kind of?
No, they're kind of rooted where they are, really. Okay. Everything's moving a little bit slow motion, and it's kind of like, you see in the face and the emotions and the confusion kind of spread through them, and they're not old and experienced dwarves.
No.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, Kuldrim are kind of like driven out quite a lot of the experience from the Brotherhood and was left with the younglings. So they're kind of almost looking for a natural leader, almost to tell them the direction to take. They're looking across to Kuldrim's second in command more than anything else. A couple of them are taking a pace forward, look as if they're going to kind of intervene, but they've seen Ahmad. Seen Ahmad kind of kill himself, so there's a massive amount of confusion and people just processing what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, so I think Torg would want to try to ensure calm at this point. I think he would pipe up and specifically speaking to the dwarves, I think his line would be just that. Really, it would be about kind of beseeching them to be calm and kind of let us stow our weapons in the midst of this horrific violence. We will mourn the passing of Kuldrim.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But let us take a moment to calm the rage inside us.
Okay. So you're going to try and offer some diplomacy. Let's all just chill a little bit. What's Loftar doing?
I will just, having listened to what Torg has to say, I'll just step up and step forward a little bit. I'll second that. Brothers, no more blood needs to be spilled. This could end here and now, and there's no need for any further conflict. In a similar vein. So I'm leaning. If there's tests required, I'll probably lean towards Enhartened to maybe have a bit of a longer, a talk to them to say, look, there's clearly something horrible has happened here.
Okay. And what are you doing, Cirque?
The dwarves around me aren't looking at me then?
No, you're no longer the prime show anymore.
I will probably start to back away then.
Okay. And
I didn't like what I did like what I saw, but I didn't like that I liked what I saw. So I'll probably need to. I'm going to extricate myself from the space, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So Scarf was on your side of the table. If you remember, it was shaped like a U, and he was on your side. He's kind of like got up. He's clearly made a decision about something. He's moving off towards the kitchen. So Loftar, I think an Enharten. Not sorry, Loftar. So Torg, I think an Enharten roll would be applicable to kind of see if you can calm those emotions a little. And Loftar, if you want to support, then you could do so.
Yeah, because Torg is my mocker. He's my mocker, so I'll offer him some support. Yeah.
So with the full rules, this has changed slightly. So now, what happens here is that you support, and you just I
could spend a point of hope, right?
Point of hope, yeah. And so the fellowship pool's refreshed to start with. So you have, I think, 4 points, because I think you get an extra one from Balin as your patron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
So the fellowship pool refreshes every session. So you've got 4 points, which is 3 plus 1. You can spend a point of hope, Loftar, and that would mean that
get a refund.
Torg would get 2 dice, because that's what support does now. And I think, is it an extra dice because of the...
Isn't it just 1 because Loftar is not my focus?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I spend obviously hope doesn't reset as often. You still have to wait for the adventure phase, right?
You have to rest.
Yes, you rest. So you can recover. You recover hope from the fellowship pool when you are resting.
Okay. Only up until the value of the fellowship pool.
Yeah, that's right. So if you you got a fellowship pool of 4. So if you spent 5 points of hope between you, you'd only be able to recover from the fellowship pool 4 of those, and you can only do that when resting. In the fellowship phase, you recover hope equal to your heart score, and I think in your fellowship phase it's a bit more. And if you ever get down to 0 hope, then you recover a single point of hope if you take a prolonged rest.
Cool. Okay, just talk. What's your Enharten score?
I got 3. It's favoured as well.
So I can support, but because I've spent 3 points of hope, unless you feel like you need another one, I'm happy to spend it.
Yeah, so you can support in the fiction without taking the like support action. So you can still be kind of like trying to calm people down and such like without necessarily giving hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I got 3 dice, and it's favoured. Eye of Sauron, and I won't be using that feat die then. I've got 4 on the other one. Tengwa, 10, 16. That's my target.
Yeah.
16, great success.
16, great success. Okay, so how do you want to spend the Tengwa?
Spend the Tengwa to gain insight, I guess.
Okay. So you're kind of like enheartening these guys, which in this particular context is about just everybody. Let's just chill. Let's calm ourselves. Loftar is trying to do the same.
Shall I play it out a little bit? What I mean?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What's the name of Cauldron second?
The name of Cauldron second is
Cauldron 2.
Cauldrimmer
is contained in this set of notes.
Kezek. His name is Kezek.
Yep.
Loftar still hopefully supporting.
Of course, yes, because Kezek and I, we go way back to the Battle of 5 Armies, as you know.
Oh, crap.
Oh, not got a drink.
The floodgates are open now.
After this, I'm gonna get a drink. Okay, so Torg lowers his mattock, and steps forward, and just pushes past a few people towards Cauldron's corpse, and Ahmad as well.
Yeah.
Kind of gestures towards the bodies and says, "Calm, still your weapons, brothers. We must cease fighting. A terrible bloodshed has been spilled today in this hall. These are horrific deeds, and this speaks of a shadow upon this place and upon this realm. And we will mourn Culdrim's passing, but you could see he was not himself. There was something in him driving his actions that was unnatural. Come, let us lower our blades, lower our mattocks, and we will seek to find the root of this evil." Torg's kind of eyeing Kezek.
Yeah.
See how he's receiving this.
A lot of the dwarfs, they shift weight kind of like from one foot to the other, look around at each other. Ahmad's presumed wife is cupping his head on her lap. She's kind of covered in blood. Kezek kind of looks down. Nobody's gone to Cauldron. Kind of, they look at the mattock with Loftar and they look at Cauldron. Kezek steps forward a little. We don't need to be hasty in our actions here. As Torg says, let's just calm ourselves. We all know Cauldron had a temper about him, and we would have never wanted him to be murdered like this. And as soon as he says murdered, the kind of, there's a flurry kind of moves through. He's not been murdered, he deserves it, says the woman on the ground. Kind of like Kezek, whatever. Weapons away, boys, weapons away. been enough bloodshed today. And kind of slowly and a little reluctantly, and then the room does start to kind of like divide as people move a little bit. And there's the Brotherhood one end and kind of the people of Brech kind of like the other, and they start to move around, and not to be hemmed in, the Brotherhood starts to move around the other side as well a little bit. Nobody's gone to get Cauldron.
Maybe we should. He's a fallen dwarf. I feel like we should give him a proper ritual.
But he's a fallen dwarf, as well as a fallen dwarf.
The dagger's taken out of Armad's chest, and a number of the older guys have kind of started to kind of lift him and carry him.
Though we must tend to Cauldron as well. For even despite his fall from grace, I do not believe he was fully behind this. I do not believe he was himself.
The people of the House of Brech are taking Armad out. There's a cluster of them around the woman who's kind of like, you know, being held and carrying through. One of them's got the knife and kind of like carrying that with him. A couple of the others kind of go for a couple of the dwarves come forward to Cauldron and kind of like start to clean him a little bit and such like. Keswick kind of like stands and says, "Aye, we should give him the rights. He was a proud warrior and achieved a great deal."
Oh, I'll help.
Okay, you start to kind of like
Yeah.
a few of the others kind of like start to come through. There's a really tense situation whereby the funerary rites of the household tend to be in the main hall. So this is a situation where little hobbits burst in. I think that you.
I think he's wearing a cape, like some sort of invisibility. Oh, there he is.
I don't pull my shirt. Kenzo, don't pull my shirt right. Don't mess my hair right there. Come on. Are you going for your shower? Yes, you're going for your shower. So there's this weird situation where the funerary rites of the household are largely conducted in the main hall. So you got this really awkward, slightly tense situation where the body's starting to be laid out and the table's starting to be laid out and the cloth and such like are starting to be laid out down one side, and it's almost kind of like there's this really clear dividing line where the dwarves are doing the same, not paying much attention to the humans. The humans are doing the same as if the dwarves weren't there. It's a very kind of like awkward, tense feeling that you're part of, where all of these things are happening in blissful isolation of the others, but of course they can't happen in blissful isolation. So there's this unspoken interaction that's happening.
I mean,
So, just want to add that I want to. Yeah, I'll come in and help. Obviously, I've seen the dust have just settled in now, so I want to pay my respects. I don't want to be standing on the side, so I'll join with Torg and help out with the dwarves.
it seems like the kind of awkward situation that Cirque would revel in. Really.
No, it's gone. He's not in the
You
room.
can
Where
break
did
the
you
deadlock.
go? Where did you head to?
I'd have headed out of the hall.
Outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I would. I don't know. Would it be better to move Cauldron outside? I don't know what time of day it is, but can we take him under the stars or something?
it's early evening, but it's not so late that it would really be anything more than starting to fall towards twilight, dusk time.
Yeah.
So the even star may be visible, but the greyness of the ashen sky coming off the withered heath and the wastes covers much of the sky up here, as it always has done. So it's a slightly bleak evening that you step out into.
I mean, would it? I think it would be better. My line of argument would be that he was a warrior of Erebor. He was even at the Battle of Five Armies, I believe.
Yeah.
So surely he would not wish to lay here in this wooden house of men. He would wish to rest beneath the stars tonight. And if it comes to it, I will take my guard over his body and ensure the crows do not tarry.
Keswick doesn't care. Yeah, he's kind of like treating it incredibly casually almost. And that communicates its way through to the other dwarves, who kind of like adopt that kind of attitude. But your approach, you're more serious and sober-minded approach with the lordly nature that you possess, and backed up by Loftar with the strength of the presence that he brings, kind of like pushes Keswick out a little bit. And the others kind of like then adopt a more serene and more kind of like somber approach. So you kind of get the impression that this group are very easily led. They just kind of go with whatever the strongest personality kind of like is at the time.
So, just to add to what I was saying earlier, so I'll stand like close to Torg and kind of to make sure that there is not just one person, so that if there's any Keswick's sort of push back, then we can. I will say, I'm with Torg. This is what we need to do.
Yeah. So you kind of like get him lifted and hoisted out, cleaned down. One of the dwarves is dispatched to kind of get a bowl of water and comes back like 10 minutes later. It should have been a 30-second task, but and the water he brings back is not as fresh as it could be, and so on, and then you kind of like take them out. Nobody's paying any heed. Keswick tries to head into the master's chamber, into what was kind of like Cauldron's sequestered area, and that drives a substantial response from the people, and he kind of like sees the better of that, and just decides to leave it, and you take him out into the warm but bleak evening. Circus is stood out there, looking over the provisions, counting the number of boiled beetroot that there are.
No, he'll be just sort of sat, probably looking over the wastes. Domey stones in one hand, but stroking the hilt of the scabbard, basically, with his other hand, pondering on what he saw on his face, on Thingy's face before he stabbed him.
Oh, Ahmad's face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Torg's kind of indulging in a little bit of theatre, really. This is it's more for show than any sense of loyalty to Cauldron, but he will stand. Maybe not facing Cauldron, but kind of he'll stand near the body and just fill a pipe and light it and enjoy the evening.
Quite hard to enjoy the evening, and as you
Real
kind of like
party atmosphere.
Yeah, as you're starting to kind of like unwind yourselves a little bit, some of the drama of it kind of like comes through to you, and kind of like there's an emptiness kind of like there. The shadow made real. You know, the difficulty of life, the inevitability of tragedy. You can't just rerun that period of time and come to another conclusion, no matter how much you may wish that you were able to. As you're sat, Cirque, you feel the presence of a figure behind you, and Scarf coughs.
Yes.
I think I've got information that might be useful to you.
Well, I always like information. You never have too much, I find.
Are you gonna look at me? Or am I just gonna talk to you back?
You're more than welcome to come round and sit down. I don't think I really want to look at the House of Brech right now.
Possibly fair. And you kind of feel him come and sit, not particularly close to you.
I'll still move slightly away.
It's getting worse. The smoke off the mountains to the north.
Yes, that's what we're here to look for, I believe.
Dragon fires getting. Look, I can see what you're thinking. All of you, everybody.
I'm thinking, just to be clear, that you've been put under the thumb of someone who was meant to protect you, of someone who was meant to be here mutually beneficiary, both for your hospitality as lord of this house, but also to protect and to serve. And speaking as someone who is quite often in their life been deemed to be the weaker party and put upon, I judge you not in this matter. I judge that we will try and get our people's house in order and get them out of here and go do the job that we've been employed to do and what they should have been doing already. And you will tidy your own business and improve the condition of the people who live here. And maybe next time, don't be quite so welcoming as to make yourself so vulnerable, is what I think.
Are you going to go and kill the dragon?
I believe we're going to go try, for that's what we've been tasked with doing. I don't fancy our chances particularly, not because of our ability or lack thereof, but I think the idea was that we took that rabble with us. But from my judgment, they're one, soft from having sat around it, sucking on your teat for God knows how many months, but also they are but children. And I speak this as a young individual myself. I recognise the folly of our own. I don't have any knowledge or experience in killing a dragon, or full battle for that matter whatsoever. I certainly wasn't at the Battle of the Five Armies. But we've been given a task to do, and we'll attempt to go do it. I also suspect what we might need to do is go prevent whatever ne'er-do-wellness is set to befall the Shield Master dude, whatever his name was.
Lord Elster.
Him. Yes, I don't know. Fancy his chances of making it back safely if the people who went with him were under certain directions, shall we say.
Why are you going to kill the dragon?
Why? Because we've been told so.
There's barely any treasure there.
We're
Certainly.
not doing this for the treasure. Not all of us had the sickness of cauldron.
I met the dragon when I was younger. Years ago.
Well, maybe you can tell us at least how to get away from one then, if necessary.
It was fearsome back then. I was in the wastes. I was foolish even then. I was looking for the lost treasures of my master, the Lord of Esgaroth, rumoured to be up there. And its voice came, and it said to me that it would burn, that I would burn. And since then, to my shame, I've passed message and information. And Cauldron and his band came 2 years ago, filled with ambition, and I thought maybe they'll kill the dragon. Maybe they'll mean that I can just escape this shame. I could escape. But they learned that there was not much treasure there, and there was a lot of work, and the dragon had grown stronger, and the ash was thicker, and the fires were melting the ice around it. So they decided not to. They decided to turn back. They decided it just wasn't worth the effort. And they learned of the tales of the lost treasure of the Master of Esgaroth. And they think that you found it. And when you returned, they thought, well, we just have to follow them and we can find where they go, because they didn't come back with the treasure last time. And Lord Elstan, why was he going into the waste? What did they know? So there was no hope. I was not ever going to be freed. And my people look at me and they asked, and I had no answer. And the child died, and Ahmad died, and I see now I'd rather die than keep this situation.
Well, up until you just uttered that ridiculous phrase, I was going to say, well, I'd consider being afraid of a dragon to be quite prudent, not shameful. And actually, you say you've passed messages or whatever, but is your house burnt? Have you not ensured the safety of your people? Might not be the most heroic, battle, song-worthy approach, but it's achieved the end it needed. Killing yourself, that's not going to solve anything, is it? What's that going to achieve? If you really feel shame at this situation, whichever way, be it warranted or not, surely enacting something to sort it out and resolve it would be better. Show real strength. Live with what you've done. Death is just a weak man's way out.
Ahmad was not a weak man.
No, He was a man who did what he needed to do. He didn't kill himself. I saw the face that was there when he plunged that dagger into his heart. That was not the man I'd spoken to and seen around this town. That was not the man who was prepared to step up and face what was done. That was the man. That was the darkness. There was something latched onto him at his moment, and while maybe enabled him to achieve what he needed, he paid a price for it as well.
The sorcerer.
He didn't kill himself out of failure. He'd succeeded.
The sorcerer of Forlock. He haunts this land. He must have taken hold of his spirit. Truly you're perceptive.
I just happened to be looking in the right direction at the right time. It's the way a lot of things are solved.
I've not been entirely honest with you.
There's a surprise.
It's not just to the dragon that but also to the shade of the fallen necromancer. The sorcerer of Forlock is the enemy here. He sees and he waits for opportunities, and he takes control of us. We are his puppets. He spreads his evil wide. An agent of an old enemy. He wants you to go to the dragon because he wants you to die there. Because he wants you out of the way. Because then he can twist the knife into both Dale and Erebor. But if you don't go to kill the dragon, then there's a fucking dragon.
Oh, between a necromancer and a dragon.
I just don't.
You have got yourself in the shit, haven't you?
I just don't know.
I take it this symbol means something to you. I'll hold up the
He,
rune thing that I've
reels
seen
back.
carved everywhere.
Yeah, he reels
That explains a bit.
a shade he is now, but once he was a mighty king. A necromancer. He flaunts his power. He says he was rewarded by the most powerful. He was given a token or some measure that has allowed him to live beyond the mortal gift.
Just checking, we would have some knowledge of the necromancer and the story behind the necromancer and
I think the necromancer of Dol Guldur.
yeah. So we would know that concept.
Yeah. I think so. Sauron has declared openly, though I'm not quite sure what that means, whether that's like he sends a little letter around to everybody and says hi.
Hi guys, I'm back.
Kind of
Check
like
shit out.
Mordor,
Look at me, big
like,
eye.
yeah, Mordor fair, like a orientation session or something.
Like he's
So
up-
yeah, so you'll have some, and certainly Cirque from Rhymes of Law will have the shape of the tale, and I'm certain that in the years that you've had around and about the places, you'll have heard the tales and the songs as well. Possibly, maybe not Loftar. That's a call for you, Matt, to make in terms of whether you were more about the busty wench songs or the darkness on the edge of town songs.
It's a tough call.
Yeah.
Depends what he's been drinking.
Yeah.
And
Whether
depends.
it's a happy beer, a sad beer.
So in any case,
Many angles.
Scarf reels back.
Yeah. I did wonder.
You post
I see this sign scattered all over this land.
He says, and he, not that we parley, but he gathers orcs to him. He
Mm.
gathers monstrous creatures from the waste to him.
You know where he's based?
This is his
Where does he
kingdom.
gather them?
The kingdom of the north, when he was a mortal. He takes on whatever shape he wishes to take. He passes wherever he wishes to pass.
Sounds like a useful set of skills.
He is evil. A wraith. A tool of a darker lord. And his scream is the chill of the grave. He could kill us and then tease our souls before they were able to pass onwards.
And yet he hasn't.
Don't
Do you not wonder about that?
Don't speak lightly. We are but pawns in his plan. I am no great hero. I am not gifted with treasures or weapons of the first age. I fear him. I fear what I have brought to my community. I fear that I have advised you too much and brought death upon me and mine.
You were going to kill yourself a minute ago. Why do you fear death? Surely, actually, if you die, you're just going to become his puppet even more.
I have defied him, and in seeing our mad defiance, I decided that I would stand, and that whilst my life has been lies and deceit, my death would not be.
You come and fight a dragon with us?
I can't fight dragons.
You can. No one alone. You want your death to mean something. You want a heroic end.
I want to look after my people now. I want to stand up and try to atone. I've shared with you all that I can.
Okay. Thanks.
Cheers, mate.
I'm not going to congratulate you. You finally stood up and grown a spine. Well done.
Kind of like gets up, kind of like stands, kind of like stops, turns, thinks better of it, takes a page forward.
Stand yourself up or upright. You're meant to be a lord of this place. Act like
turns,
one.
And he says, I don't think I need to measure myself by you. I've done what is right here.
I'm not judging you.
And he kind of like gets his cloak and walks back into the hall.
Well, this really is a load of shit we've got ourselves into, isn't it? Suppose I should update the others. And I'll wander over to where Torg's holding his vigil.
Cauldron's body is grey. There's blood-stained clothing about him. There's a stench.
Did we not?
The dwarves kind of stand and look at each other a little.
Might I suggest a pyre rather than watching him fester?
Perhaps we should conclude this now.
It's only been a short time, sir. We must. We should sing him a song or two from the ages before we do so. In the meantime, I've promised to keep the crows from his eyes.
We sure he deserves that.
No, but perhaps it will embolden some of these young dwarves and maybe turn their heart towards us.
Fair enough. We're gonna need them.
He used to
Turns
be
out
a
we're in
noble
even more
warrior.
shit than I thought.
Cirque, I'm hoping you will be able to report this to Dane in terms of the detail of his crimes and his misdeeds. You know the legislation in Erebor better than I.
I don't sure he actually deserves to be judged as a dwarf. He acted like a man at the end.
And once he was a dwarf of some note, or he was of the five armies.
Has he not?
As was Loftar. Are you well, Loftar? Are you?
Just a bit of water.
Oh yeah, he's not used to drinking water.
Is that the water we fetched to clean Kuldrim's body? I'm not sure that was.
Probably was, yeah.
I think that may have been from a chamber pot.
I know. It smelled like something you'd normally drink, but I wouldn't recommend it.
No. Well, I was just a bit thirsty, you know.
It had
What
that
can I
lovely
say?
golden colour of pale ale.
Yeah.
Nice frothy head.
I see Lord Scarf was having a heart-to-heart with you, and I sensed some import to his words.
Probably not one for a discussion out in the open. If you're set on singing songs to a dead dwarf for the evening.
I am, as you say, dead set on this.
You crack on with that. I'll go write a letter and come find me when you finish singing.
I will.
And I'll go off and basically detail absolutely everything. Like there'll be appendices, there'll be maps, there'll be a complete list of the resources.
Yeah, okay. Well, what crime are you saying that he committed?
I'm not saying he committed anything.
Oh, so it's just a retelling.
I'm literally just going, clearly suffering from dragon sickness, attempted to take the treasure off of Loftar, ended up getting stabbed by one of the people at his own location because he'd been acting in an undwarfly manner and living off there, basically suckling at the teat of the men folk.
You're listing his faults rather than his crimes.
Yeah, it's a unemotional, objective account of everything I've seen and encountered.
Yeah, okay, cool, good stuff. And what's Loftar doing?
There's really not much I can do. I could think about putting together some sort of burial sort of setup contraption, maybe a pyre, some sort of, use my craft. Hey, you two, come with me. You give me a hand. We need to make sure that he goes away in style, or in a dwarven tradition. Get a couple of dwarves with me and use my obviously crafting skills to put together something too.
Yeah, getting a funeral pyre together doesn't require a roll or anything. You get a bit of help, and Torg starts to sing the lamentations for the dead of the traditional dwarven kind of ceremony. A few of the other dwarves join in. It's all very perfunctory, really. And then you're going to just burn him away in the House of Brech?
Torg, I think Torg would lean on Loftar a little bit here and maybe say to Loftar that you knew him the best of all of us, and you were present in the battle that we do not need to name. Perhaps you could recount just one small story of his pride, his honor, and his bravery during that battle.
Yeah, I think what you say is fair. I'll reflect on this, and I'll seek my memory for a few good stories to remember him by. I'm gonna need a flask or two just to give me some courage and warm the spirits, But I'll give him a proper send off. So I was trying to enhearten the dwarves. Obviously, mention the crime, but kind of, because you don't speak ill of the dead. So towards the end, just trying to remember him that he was a good guy and he fought well. And Battle of Five Armies will just, come back every now and then, and every other sentence or so on.
The Battle of Five Armies was like 20 odd years ago, for the record. This is really living on your.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the heyday. It's the. It's the 80s.
During the war.
That was a fine story, Loftar. A fine story, and a good one for us to remember Kuldrim as we send him back to the mountain.
When I speak to Torg, I just sort of like when the pyre is going, I'll just mention. So obviously we have to take care of the dwarves in inverted comas and make sure we rally them and take them on the journey with us. Make sure to close this chapter down with these humans and do what we came here for, which I'm sure you know, but I just thought I'll say it. I got a bit melancholy in me because I had a few, and then the pyre.
So the pyre lights and starts to kind of like burn. You've got some good kindling on the go. Starts to burn through. Yeah. The dwarves sleep outside. The judgment seems to be maybe not to go into where the other funerary rites are being conducted. And as the flames reach through to Kuldrim's kind of like body, you hear the woolen jerkin catch flame, and kind of like his beard and his hair kind of move, and then there's a hissing and a bubbling as the innards kind of like pop, and I have no idea what happens.
Himself is in.
And
anyone else hungry?
Yeah, right. Tea time, and you kind of like sing the Song of the Dead as a fire burns through. It's an uncomfortable night. It's unseasonably warm. The fire kind of like makes it worse. The morning kind of comes around, and it's still a tense and miserable place in the House of Brech. Scarf is trying to arrange his own situation. People kind of like getting gathered to kind of make the journey across to the burial site. Scarf seems to be really snappy with quite a few people. He's not quite had the closure that he thought his conversation was going to have.
The wrong person to speak to.
And well, he chose you because he didn't want to talk to Torg about it, because he didn't want to have like the whole judgment of a leader gazing down on him. It's kind of like he thought you were the easier one to talk to. Yeah,
it depends in what context he went easy.
Well, it's kind of like, he didn't see you as a peer, so he would have thought that if he was to talk to Torg, he'd get more judged, because Torg is like his peer as a leader, and he just didn't need that. And then he talked to you and realised he didn't fucking need that either, as it happens. So he's not had the emotional closure that he thought he was going to kind of get from his
did he think we were going to hug it out?
He didn't quite know. I mean, but he thought it was. He thought he'd be in a better mood than he is, so he's a bit snappy with some people, and like the body of people move off. Pretty much everybody kind of like goes. Kezek takes opportunity to kind of head into the main room and recover some of Kuldrim's kind of like artifacts and kind of like goods and such like. He's going to try to return those back to whatever family is able to find, essentially. So what do you want to do now, gents?
Is his intention to to return south.
It is, yes. And he's kind of ambivalent about what the rest of the Brotherhood do. As far as he's concerned, the Brotherhood, the Fellowship is broken, the Brotherhood is broken. It's not quite Amon Hen, but it's kind of getting there.
I think we can just kind of mingle and sow the seed of heading north to finally confront the dragon that kind of gave this sickness or kind of started the process for Cauldron. As a way of kind of writing it, but also ensuring that this doesn't happen again, and and the fact that we're under orders from Dane, that's got to hold sway with a lot of these dwarves.
Also, just making it like if you're trying to inspire them, I'm going to shame them from the other end and go, well, obviously no one's going to employ you with your current record. What new brotherhood are you going to join unless you've got something to tell the tale about other than sitting in the house of a man for 2 years?
The stick and the carrot, effective.
Very good. Don't have a lever.
That's the way to do it. Okay, so are you gonna Turk? Are you gonna tell Loftar and Torg what you?
Yeah. After he'd finished singing, I told him to come see me.
Oh right, okay. So let's just play that scene through. So we just have that one out.
So
have you got a minute, sir? Have you got a minute? Can we have a quick word, please?
I do believe I've got more than a minute. I'm not sure if we have a concept of time in this world or not, but okay.
Yeah, you have days. You have certainly
minutes?
hours. I think maybe not.
I've got about a 60th of an hour for you if you need me.
Very specific.
Right. Sorry, have you got a quick pint that we can talk?
I thought you wanted to talk about something. I've got stuff I need to tell you guys, but you've just sorted me out. So what did you need, Loftar?
To do with Scarf and your conversation with Scarf. So,
yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that, but Loftar said he wanted to talk to me about something. What did you want to talk about, Loftar?
Just about the Kazakh guy. So do we want to keep him basically?
No.
Don't want to keep any of them.
Should we
just loot? We need dragon fodder.
He wants to return Cauldron's goods to Cauldron's family, so that seems fair.
Fine. Okay. No, I hesitated. I wasn't sure, but yeah, if we have consensus, I'm fine. Let him go.
Yeah, they're not called the brothers of Keswick, so, and I doubt they ever will be. He's hardly was a strong enough second in command to deal with the situation himself, was he?
True.
Let's be honest. We both know, Loftar, if Torg started showing the sign of dragon sickness, you'd end him like that. Put him out of his misery. What needs to be done?
I wouldn't speculate on that.
I would want no other dwarf to do it.
Exactly. That's what a second in command is for. Yeah. So about the dragon. One, he probably knows we're here and probably knows we're coming.
Dragon
isn't overly bothered about us in the sense of not concerned about 3 dwarves and a bunch of teenage dwarves who've never fought a dragon before. Even with your shiny new mattock, I don't want to take anything away from you. But we apparently also, these symbols we've been seeing everywhere. Turns out there's a fallen necromancer in the works. He's the one who's been gathering the orcs and the monstrous creatures together. He's the one who kind of wants us to go fight a dragon. I suspect he's been stirring up the dragon so that we have to go fight a dragon because he wants us out of the way. Something about dividing a wedge between men and dwarves in Erebor and in general in Dale. So, yeah, we're fucked.
Did you say the necromancer of Dol Guldur has returned?
No, I said a shade of a fallen necromancer.
Shade, who was formerly a king, you say?
Yeah, apparently this is his kingdom. So I suspect if we have to go deal with him, wherever was his former castle, seat of power, is probably where he's loitering.
But which king was it?
I don't know which king.
You don't know which king?
No, well, the library here is terrible. I haven't been able to do any research at all.
Well, The fact that the dragon doesn't see us as a threat is our one advantage.
No, it just shows the dragon's not dumb enough to see us as a threat. It's a dragon, after all.
I'm reaching for a positive here, Cirque.
The positive is that we know that we're in shit. As opposed to... Whereas before we'd sort of put one foot in the pile of manure, we're now aware that we've actually just jumped next deep in the slurry pit.
Into a huge pile of dragon shit.
Yes. I don't know. Do dragons shit? I presume so. They eat stuff. I haven't done much reading on the biological processes of dragons. They don't have to eat very often, though. They spend years sleeping on gold. I'll add it to the research when I get back next.
Well, then surely it's more important than ever that we muster as many of Kuldrim's brothers that we can in order to...
that's why I've been telling them that obviously if they go back, yes, if they come with us and fight a dragon, they might die, but at least they'll have a story to tell. Whereas if they go back, they basically, what have you done for the last 2 years? I sat and lived off the fat of the man.
Have you heard the tales of Smaug and Bilbo the Hobbit?
That's a good point. Smaug was in Erebor for years. I wonder if there was any dragon shit.
Well, that's a good point.
If anyone had to clear it out when he was done. I know there was a load of gold and stuff, but was there any shit? Was it shitty gold?
Just to drag this into some kind of forward movement.
But he smelt the Hobbit, didn't he? So maybe he could smell it over his own shit if there was a load of it.
Had a long conversation, and the dragon.
Did the dragon crunch away on some really noisy, crunchy stuff while you were having the conversation?
Is that a noise?
It's Matt's jawbone.
It's Matt chowing down because he just goes all the way through his jaw up into his headphones where the mic is.
Sorry. Yeah, hang on.
It's a noise.
My mistake. I need to swap device.
Wobble board.
So you think we go talk to the dragon?
I think the dragon will either be a fighty, fire-breathing, hell on earth kind of dragon, or it will be a sneaky, riddly dragon. And if it's the latter, then possibly. I'm basing this on a very limited knowledge of dragons.
From my reading of dragons in the past, would I know if there are actually two distinct types of dragon like that, or are all dragons fighty, nasty, fire-breathy doom dragons that are also sneaky, riddly bastards?
Make a lore roll to find out what you know, to reprise what you know of dragons.
Favourites I get 2.
Mine was basically both. So
17.
depends what mood they're in.
21.
Not the total, no.
25, great success.
Okay, 25, great success. How do you want to spend the great success?
What are my options again?
So your options are essentially gain insight, gain an additional success if success has mattered to the task. It's not really a prolonged test. Do it quicker, do it stealthily, helps when it's failed.
I will quickly scan my memory to see what I know of dragons and what type they might be.
Yeah.
Okay. Stealthily get in and out without knowing.
What, into my own brain?
Yeah.
So without your brain,
surely be more appreciative of me quickly recounting what I know rather than lengthily.
Yeah, this is very anti-Cirque. It only takes 3 hours for him to read to tell you this. Okay, so you know that some dragons are hot and breathe fire. Their lesser cousins, are cold drakes, are cold and breathe out poisonous vapors. It's not known whether cold drakes are a different breed of dragon or like an earlier stage that dragonkind kind of go through or what have you. But broadly speaking, you get hot and breathe fire, cold poisonous vapors. They have a soft underbelly, very famous. That's the place that's vulnerable to weapons. Most dragons will engage in discussion and flattery, as was evidenced by the exchange between famed Bilbo and Smaug, is something that will cause dragons to remain engaged for longer. So most dragons look to kind of like toy and demonstrate their superiority, and wish people to be obsequious to them, rather than just snap them and eat them alive.
I could challenge it to a battle of wits.
They love riddle contests.
Not riddle, just actual factual knowledge. None of that loosey-goosey shit.
But what's the artifact that Domi gave or left, and that you have acquired?
It's useful for helping puzzle things out, but I'd say it will only give me about a third of my maximum potential in that area. So thereby, it's not sufficient to maybe take on a dragon with or be reliant on. Whereas if we're talking about facts and figures in history, I might be able to actually. Oh, this dragon's presumably been around for a while. I wonder if we want to talk to it, I could converse it about telling me its story. I don't mean to riddle it, but actually just to be genuinely interesting as well. So it's like a win-win situation. We'll keep it distracted, but I'll also gather some information. I could write an essay on it.
I'm sure
I might get published.
Dragon would feel flattered by such interest in its history.
I actually wouldn't like that. Maybe that's what we should just do in general. Let's hunt them out. We could get a real history of the world from the creatures that were actually there. Obviously, there'll be some evidential bias based on their position within that sort of structure. But if we ask them about stuff that they didn't care about as well,
you could get eaten, though, Cirque.
No, I could fall down a bear trap tomorrow. It's like no one gets out of this life alive.
You're not trying to write a book and have a conversation with a bear trap.
Well, the history of bear traps is fascinating. They've evolved much over the years. They're far more efficient than they used to be.
Well, that's true.
But yes, I wouldn't mind talking to a dragon. Who gets to say they've done that?
Is there anything else that Scarf told you about this king, whichever king?
Oh, he's obviously he's the one gathering all the orcs to himself and the monstrous creatures. So I suspect that's why we keep encountering hobgoblins and the like in their region. Like I say, he didn't know where it'd be based. This was his old kingdom. Without doing the proper research, I would not like to hazard a guess at who he might be. I want to go do some research, find out what the kings are in this area, particularly if we've got information about any that fell to necromancy that became a shade in that respect. And then we could triangulate his base of operations when he was alive and assume. Oh, I don't like doing that. Extrapolate if that's where he might still be based.
I think that would be a job best done back at Erebor, possibly.
Yeah, I think for the minute we go deal with the dragon, and then I've included it in my letter to King Dane, and it's literally it's like sheath. It's like a. It's like that. It's about that thick. He's like.
That may be of some use if the dragon does decide to breathe fire in your direction.
Yeah, I've given a summary at the front of my findings, and then the rest of it is just appendices and opinions and structured prose, and also referencing my sources and whether or not I think they're trustworthy sources or to be treated as more of a secondary, more anecdotal evidence.
A very respectable piece of work, sir. So
if we get this sent back, you go rile up the dwarves, get them all like fighty, and then we'll head out. I'll go chat to a dragon, and then you do something when I'm talking to. Job done.
Okay, that's
whatever you do, though, do not kill the dragon before I've got all the information I need. I will signal you when I feel I've got sufficient for at least At least a lengthy essay.
Okay. And the signal will be in English, mech. And you'll...
No, I'll just say done.
Okay.
I wouldn't want any misunderstandings. This is a dragon. It probably knows English, mate.
Could be.
I feel when it comes to dealing with clever and cunning individuals, I found that sometimes the best method is just to be plain and straightforward. Because they either think you're really thick and underestimate you, or they overanalyze the situation to such a degree that they don't suppose anyone could be being plain and straightforward and start full of traps and turns where there are none, and thereby you gain the upper hand that way.
In another universe, that's called Socratic idiocy. An excellent technique.
Socratic idiocy, you say?
Socratic
I
idiocy.
do believe I like that phrase.
Loftar, what would you appraise Cirque's plan? Any flaws you can see? You're on mute.
He's mute with he's just blown away by all the suggestions.
I was just hoping to eat some more cookies, but then I changed my mind, and I was taken away by the inspirational plans and the thorough and analysis of the text and thought that Cirque has presented. That's pretty much as much as I can put out without sounding scholarly, which is not a bad word at all. I've just invented it, I guess.
No, I'm pretty sure it's my class.
Another claim to fame for Loftar.
It's my well-known calling, but okay. Battle of the Five Armies, inventory scholar.
Yeah. So that's right. I need to get on whiskey on, I think. So
I never know whether it's Matt or Loftar speaking.
Well, yeah, it's I like the simplicity of the plan. I think we should go and it's mostly Loftar. Mostly just deal with the dragon. I think that's the simplest way, and see if we can get enough dwarves with us, because I don't think there's getting away of it. Dane was clear and simple. I think they will have expectation of us. And then I heard that someone's supposed to be on the council as well, so no good deeds go unpunished, right?
So,
equipped, make us or break us.
Equipped with a plan of great vision, but light on detail, our player heroes resolve that the simplest way to deal with this is to kill the dragon.
Talk to it and then kill it.
Talk to the dragon.
It might turn out.
Exhaust its knowledge of the history of Middle-earth. And then, when they are finished and have exhausted the knowledge that the dragon provides, Cirque will say, "Done!" and they will slay it. What can possibly go wrong?
Well, we all know that when people are recounting stuff or dictating, they like to lay down reclining style. So one can assume the dragon is the same.
Assume away.
It's a flawless.
Interestingly, my PDF is open on talking with the enemy section of combat. Not intentionally, I've just flicked onto it. It's there.
So, good audience, I can hear you asking yourselves, what can possibly go wrong? And we'll find out after this quick break. So I think we should just take 10 minutes there. It's about halfway through the session, because we'll need to finish around 10, which is like 9:15 tomorrow morning, wherever Matt is.